Okay, I can start. I'm gonna leave my video muted. I'm a little under the weather today, and I don't want to freak you guys out with my ghoulish looks. But my name is Vienna Lenarduzzi. I am a study abroad advisor at Michigan Tech. I work within the Pavlis Honors College, and study abroad is considered like an emergent experience for any people who are part of the Pavlis Honors College. But I do want you to know that you don't have to be a Pavlis Honors student to study abroad, but we do encourage you to check Pavlis out because there may be something of interest to you to kind of enhance your academic experience at Michigan Tech. And then we also have Nicole on the call here. Nicole, if you want to introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Signory. I am the Health Professions Coordinator at Michigan Tech, and so I do all of the pre-health advising. So I work with students on campus who are interested in one day applying to graduate health programs like medical school, dental school, PT school, anything under that graduate health program umbrella.
Great, thank you. So yeah, we are gonna spend the next 40 to 50 minutes here hanging out with Matt from Global Semesters at University of Nicosia, and he's going to tell us all about why you should be going to Cyprus next year. So Matt, take it away.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, everybody, my name is Matt Spores. Obviously, as Vienna said, I work with the University of Nicosia. So what I'll do today is first I'll introduce you a little bit to Cyprus because it is pretty common that a lot of Americans don't know too much about Cyprus. So I'll tell you about Cyprus, then I'll tell you a little bit about our university. I'll tell you a little bit about some of our programs that we have, some different majors that we offer. And then I'll tell you about some specifics about all of our programming at the University of Nicosia. So that'll be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. And then if anybody has any questions afterward, feel free to reach, to just chat me or just unmute yourself and we could have some Q&A afterward as well. I'm going to share my screen right now. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me get my presentation up. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So Cyprus. So for those of you that don't know, Cyprus is a Mediterranean island. It's to the south of Greece and Turkey. I actually studied abroad in Cyprus myself. And like most Americans, I didn't know it. My school actually told me all about Cyprus. So a lot of people think it's a Greek island. And understandably so. So Cyprus is very culturally Greek. They do speak Greek on the island. They eat a lot of Greek food. They drink coffee till way too late in the night like the Greeks do. They speak kind of loudly, similar to Greeks. However, again, it's a totally sovereign country. A couple quick facts about Cyprus. It was ranked actually as the safest country in the world for young adults to travel to, and that was by the World Health Organization. About 1 million people total live in Cyprus, and we get about 4 million tourist visitors a year. So again, super common. Americans don't know about Cyprus, but if you have any European friends, ask them about Cyprus. They'll tell you all about it. We get about 4 million tourists, predominantly into our beach towns, because Cyprus is the sunniest country in all of Europe. It's about 330 days of sun every year. And it also has over 20% of Europe's top beaches on the island as well. Cyprus also has a lot of history, a lot of cultural heritage on the island, about 12,000 years of human history. And what's unique about that is that Cyprus really, because of where it sits in the Mediterranean and being a small island, pretty much anybody who dominated Europe, or more specifically the Mediterranean region throughout history, also controlled Cyprus. So it's really unique. Being in Cyprus, you'll see what you would imagine, some like ancient Greek looking, ruins. So for instance, one location we take students is to an ancient Greek amphitheater that's been excavated. But then right next to that is an ancient Roman bathhouse that's also been excavated from a completely different era. So it's like two different cultures from different times living on top of each other. You'll see things like 600-year-old Venetian walls, one of only two completely intact Venetian walls in the entire world. And then inside of those Venetian walls, it'll be 200-year-old Ottoman Empire homes. So it really is a lot of history and the history of a lot of different groups of people as well. As I mentioned, they do speak Greek in Cyprus. However, Cyprus is a former British colony. So because of that, a huge amount of the population speaks English. The official stat is somewhere around like 81 to 83% of the island speaks English. However, it's kind of skewed because everywhere students travel to, obviously the capital where the university is at, the beach towns, and the other major cities, just about everybody speaks English. I did a semester in Cyprus, and I still live in Cyprus every summer, and it's embarrassing because I spent over a year in Cyprus and I don't speak any Greek, and it's because it's really easy to communicate with the locals. You do hear Greek spoken everywhere you go, but as soon as you speak English, they kind of just transfer over to English, which is really nice if you're like me and you're not good at picking up languages. Our capital is Nicosia, where our university is located. The New York Times ranked us a few years ago as the number 11th place in the world to see. So that's pretty cool. We're starting to get some traction here in the US. You'll see a lot of pictures with beaches and beautiful crystal clear blue water, which is a huge component of Cyprus. However, our capital, Nicosia, is very cosmopolitan. It has a large financial service industry as well as accounting industry. We're similar to like the Singapore of the Mediterranean. So it is very cosmopolitan in the actual capital itself. With that being said, unlike a lot of other European capitals, Cyprus is really, Nicosia in particular, is really cost effective. It's really affordable to live in the capital. So I'm from Pennsylvania, and whenever I travel to Cyprus, honestly, I just budget as if I was here in the US, which is really nice. A couple other quick facts about our capital. So we have about 300,000 people that live in Nicosia. We have about 30,000 college students in Nicosia, so about 10% of the population are college students. So by no means is it a college town. However, the city itself is, obviously very friendly towards the college students because it makes up a large, percentage of the population. So there's a lot going on in the capital. There's over 1,000 restaurants, which we send students every semester in summer the list of places to visit. Really vibrant social scene. We have 2 professional soccer teams, just outside of the city limits. So there really is a lot going on in Nicosia. One last quick fact about Nicosia. Just this year, a couple weeks ago, we were ranked the #1 small city in Europe for human capital and lifestyle. Essentially what that means is it's a pretty wealthy city. There's a lot of students, and there's a lot going on in the capital as well. So a little bit about the University of Nicosia. We are the largest university in all of Southern Europe that teaches in English. We have about 13,000 students. The breakdown of that is about 10,000 local students, and that is both Greek students and Cypriot students as well. We have about 2,000 to 2,500 students that are from the EU traveling and studying abroad at our university as well. Fun fact, the EU actually caps us at that number because we have so many other European students coming to Cyprus and not enough actually leaving to study abroad in the rest of Europe that they cap us at that number because the exchange is so uneven. And then we have, depending on the year, anywhere from 300 to 500 US students also studying at the University of Nicosia. So some of our leading programs, definitely medicine. We have a medical school at the university. It's actually partnered with St. George's University in London. We offer 2 different medical degrees, and it's very prestigious. We have over a 99% rate for students to get paired with a job after medical school. IR, because of where we sit in the Mediterranean, international relations is very important. So IR is very strong at the university. I mentioned accounting. We also have a very strong architecture program, which wins tons of European, international awards every year, and then also blockchain as well. So the technology behind Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Another cool fact about the university, this is something I never thought about before I studied abroad. This is more kind of in line with the semester students who are looking to go for a full semester. The fact that because the university is taught almost exclusively in English, you're taking all your courses with local students, so Greek and Cypriots, other European study abroad students, and then of course some American students as well. So it really is very easy and organic to meet other students from literally all over the world. The first half of my semester, I was definitely kind of hanging out with the Americans mostly. The second half of the semester, every couple of days I was playing soccer with the local Greek and Cypriot students. I celebrated Carnival with a bunch of German and French friends that I had made, and it was really great. My social media was never the same again after that experience. Everything because I got to really immerse myself because I was taking courses with those students. Another aspect about the university, so we're a private university. We actually predate the public university on the island by over a decade. So in the early 60s, when we went for our accreditation, our accreditation actually came from the US. So because of that, the actual system itself is very Americanized. So we have a 4.0 GPA scale. It's a 4-year bachelor's degree with 2 semesters, so very similar to the US system. And if you take a look at our syllabi for our courses, they match very similarly to those in the US because they were built based on the US model as well. So it is easy to get courses to transfer. And then also I can tell you from firsthand experience, taking the courses in Cyprus felt very similar to taking courses in the US as well. So I didn't really have that like European like shock of like having a final and maybe a midterm and that was all of your grades, which is nice that that's not really the case in Cyprus. Our campus is a modern urban campus. I think this is by Cypriot standards. I'll show you a picture of the campus, but it is nicely spread out, but everything is walkable for sure. We have over 160 degree programs in just about every major. So this is a picture of the area of Nicosia where our university is located. So on the bottom here, if you can follow my cursor, these are the first 3 academic buildings of the university. The university has actually taken over a lot of this region, if you can follow my cursor. And actually it extends further out to the right here where we have some buildings for the medical school as well. So a lot of this is university campus, university buildings, but it's also mixed in with the neighborhood as well. So it is a nice mix of college students, but then all locals living in the area. And if you see on the left here, this is actually one of our new student residences. It's our quote unquote oldest one. It's about 2 years old, 2.5 years old. So we have 3 of those buildings right now. They're not all structurally looking the same, but they all have the same amenities, which I'll go over in just a few moments. A second here. There we go. Hold on. All right, cool. So a little bit about the different programs that we have. I'm not going to touch on specific courses or anything too in depth. However, at the end, if you have specific questions about specific courses, or if you want me to send you course links as well, I could absolutely do that. So just kind of a broad stroke of things that we offer. For our semester programs, we're very strong in the sciences, the hard sciences in particular. So anything, for bio, cell biology, chem, orgo, I would say compared to most study abroad programs, we have a larger proportion of bio and pre-med students going on our semester programs. I know because a lot of universities when you go to study abroad aren't taught in English, really they don't have English, they don't have that many courses specifically for kind of the harder majors to find. But again, because our university is taught in English and we have a medical school, we're very strong in the sciences for sure. Engineering is another department where I know it's hard to find courses. So if anybody has an engineering major or minor, we've got all sorts of engineering courses as well as internships and research opportunities. And then of course we have humanities and social sciences, as you can see here. So again, if you have a minor, you can take major courses as well as minor courses. Performing arts is another one where a lot of our students will come to take electives and they take one of our performing arts courses. Business, again, I mentioned the financial sector being really crucial to Nicosia. So we are pretty strong in business and marketing, hospitality. Obviously, you'll see the pictures of the beaches. Art design, I mentioned architecture, multimedia, graphic design, communications, things like that. So again, over 400 courses taught during the semester. And if anybody wants a link to the courses that were offered, that are being offered right now and offered next fall and things like that, just let me know in the chat and I'll absolutely send that over to you. A little bit about our summer programs. I'll touch on the ones that are the most, I think, useful for this conversation. However, take a look at these, and at the end, if anybody has a minor in one of these and they're interested in these courses, just let me know. And I'll touch on those again. So the first one I'll talk about really briefly is nursing. If anybody has any interest in nursing, all of our summer programs are 6 credits. They run from early June until early July, so for about 4 weeks. The nursing program consists of 2 courses. One is the management of care, which is also the course that our pre-med students take and our physical therapy students take during the summer. And that one talks about the different healthcare systems in Europe versus the healthcare systems in the US, kind of how social means kind of contribute to how healthcare is administered. And then you'll also talk about the different kind of ways to administer healthcare in different parts of Europe. For instance, how do you give bad news to a Northern European family and how do you give bad news to a Southern European family? Because it is very different. Obviously, cultures are very different. So it's a pretty interesting course. You do get to take that with a lot of different students. So it's very discussion oriented in general. The second course with the nursing program is our provision of nursing care. This one's actually a practicum. So it talks about, you'll actually get to go out into the field with different doctors, clinicians, nurses, and see what healthcare is actually like in Europe, and obviously more particularly Cyprus. So, what is the job of a nurse in Cyprus? Obviously, if you're interested in nursing and you've taken nursing courses here in the US, you'll already have an idea of what it means to be a nurse here. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll actually get to see firsthand and get to experience firsthand what nursing is like in Cyprus. Physical therapy, the one main course there is our biomechanics and rehabilitation course. You actually get to, in this one, you have access to our gait analysis lab where you'll actually get to do a project during this 4-week program and actually work with some physical therapists as well. Fun fact about our PT lab, our gait analysis lab, the one professional soccer team actually uses that to analyze their players' gaits when they have injuries. So it's pretty cool. And then our pre-med program. So I think for the group, this is probably going to be the most relevant. And that's great because it's probably one of our most popular summer programs. So this is actually a 7-credit program. Obviously, that management of care course, which I talked about before, is one of the courses that you could take. The second course is the 4-credit anatomy course. So it's called Special Topics in Clinical Anatomy and Skills. So one day you'll have, a normal lecture about, that day it might be about the neck region. So you might be talking about a laryngeal carcinoma, right? So how do they form? How do we diagnose it? What kind of treatments are available? That same day, you'll actually go over and have your lab at the medical school's cadaver lab. And since that day the lecture was talking about, a carcinoma in the neck, you'll actually get to work with full body cadavers. And that day, the prosector will, focus in on the neck region and say, okay, so this is a neck of somebody who did not have a carcinoma. This is the neck of somebody who did. This is what you should be feeling for. So it's very, very hands-on. It's definitely interesting for students who want to go to medical school. This is something you will obviously be inundated with during your first year of medical school. And a lot of students, obviously they do this for the credits, but again, it's something that, students come back and they say, oh yeah, I got to talk about this during my interview at medical school, interview for medical school. So obviously it's a resume builder as well. Regardless of the program, this is what's included in both of our summer and our semester programs. So take a look through this. I'll say that the 2 things that are not included are your food costs and your flight cost. Obviously, everybody travels from different locations. We can't include flights. And the university doesn't have a meal plan, but they do have a restaurant, but it's not, Americanized where you go in every day. But there's tons of restaurants and grocery stores and food options as well. So obviously your tuition's covered. The housing I'll go over in a second. 7-city tour, I'll tell you about that. We have coordinators in Cyprus that are just there for our US students. So if you're like me and you get locked out of your apartment and you need help getting back in, they're there for you. If you're sick and you need to go to a doctor, they're there to help coordinate, getting to the doctor. They'll also take you on the different tours around the island as well. And they're, like I said, they're just dedicated for our US students, and obviously 24/7 support. Your insurance is covered, orientations. We do a welcome and farewell dinner. We give you a local cell phone as well. So by no means do you have to get an international phone plan. What a lot of our students do is they'll take their smartphone and turn their data off and just use their Wi-Fi. And then they'll use the program phone when they can't use their Wi-Fi to call somebody from home. Or if you want to call the local Cypriot numbers, it's just about free to do that from that phone. So again, it's nice. You don't have to have an international phone plan, and just about everywhere has Wi-Fi, by the way. So the apartments, the university, all the different shops, even a lot of the beaches have Wi-Fi, which is, I find that pretty crazy. I do a lot of the pre-departure advising, and then there's also, post-program support, of course, as well. All right, so I mentioned the 7-city tour. So essentially, we do include trips around the island that are included into the program fee. So I'll just talk briefly about it. The first trip is to Ayia Napa. So Ayia Napa is one of the premier beach towns in Europe. So I mentioned the 4 million tourist visitors. a lot of them go to Ayia Napa. So there's tons to do during the day, tons to do during the night. So during the day, obviously you could hit the beach because it's Ayia Napa. I definitely recommend Googling it. You can go obviously swimming, snorkeling, scuba diving. You can swim through sea caves. You can go ATVing through nature preserves. There is a ton to do. And then at night, it definitely has a vibrant nightlife. A lot of DJs come to Cyprus. There's a ton to do. During that trip, we also visit a ghost town, which is called Famagusta. So Famagusta was like the Ayia Napa of the 70s. But in the early 70s, the Turkish actually invaded the northern part of Cyprus and annexed this beach town. They were using it as a bargaining chip to try to get things from the Cypriots to concede to. The thing is, it was never unannexed. So you get to go into the water, and it's beautiful, beautiful water, juxtaposed against these massive hotels that are slowly crumbling away, and this town that you could see that is slowly just deteriorating from nobody being there for 50 years. Somebody actually went in there recently. I don't know how they got access to go into one of these hotels, but apparently the dinner was still on the table from 1972. From when people were forced to leave the hotel, which is pretty crazy. So this trip is a weekend trip. You spend 2 nights and 3 days, predominantly in Ayia Napa, at a 4-star resort on the actual water, which is pretty cool. Paphos is another beach town, much more serene and relaxed than Ayia Napa for sure. Paphos is known for the mosaics, which we get to visit, as well as Aphrodite's rock, which is the rock on the left. That's this one right here. Fun fact, Greek mythology says that Aphrodite, who is the goddess of love and the goddess of beauty, actually was born from the sands of Cyprus, which I think is a huge testament to Cyprus's beauty, because there's a lot of beautiful Greek islands, and the fact that Cyprus is called the island of love because of Aphrodite is pretty cool. That's also what we get. Kyrenia is a day trip. It's to the northern part. It's the northern port city in Cyprus. We get to visit a castle that it's essentially a big spiral up a mountain to this really steep castle. It looks like it should be in like every scary movie ever. It's really, really cool. So we visit that, and then we visit the Kyrenia harbor. Othello's Tower is located here. A lot of ancient architecture is in Kyrenia. And then there's tons of shopping and cafes and places to get lunch and dinner here. So this is a nice day trip. And then another is the Troodos Mountains. So this is a day trip. So Cyprus has a huge mountain range in the middle of the island, and it's one of the few places in the world, depending on the season, you could be swimming in the sea and then climb to the top of the mountain range here and actually go skiing or snowboarding. So it's a beautiful hike that we do through the nature preserve in the Troodos Mountains. Like I said, that's a day trip. We visit Limassol, which is another beach town, but it's also the second largest city on the island. We visit Colossi Castle, which is where Richard the Lionheart was married. He's the only noble to be married outside of the UK. We visit Kourion. Before I mentioned about the amphitheater and the Roman bathhouse, that's Kourion, so we get to visit that. We get to visit the new marina, which is full of massive yachts. It's very, very nice. And then we also visit the old port and the old city of Limassol as well. So like I said, all those things are included. None of the trips are mandatory, but they're awesome. I recommend them all. So back to the housing. So that's the apartment on the left, the student residences. So all of our residences are now single studio apartments. So obviously you have your own kitchen, bathroom, balcony, things like that. We do house all of our American students in the same area of these apartment complexes though. So you have your own space, but at the same time, you're still connected with everybody else. There's a lot going on in these buildings. There's gyms, there's cafes, there's restaurants, a grocery store, which apparently will deliver your groceries to your actual apartment. And as you saw in the picture earlier, the apartments are really, really close to the university, but they're also really close to all the other things you would need in your day-to-day life. Again, we have 13,000 students, and most of them live by the university. So by nature, the area is very built up for students. There's more cafes in the area that you would ever visit in a summer or a semester. Huge grocery stores around, other gyms, 24-hour bakeries, taxi stands, bus stops, things like that, all within about a 5 to 8 minute walk total. So it's very accessible. If you are looking to do independent travel, obviously right now I'm not sure, what independent travel is going to look like for the, the coming semesters, but these are some of the popular locations students do go to. Obviously Cyprus is an island, so this is a question that comes up a lot, but it is really easy to travel to other locations. For instance, I went to a bunch of these spots when I studied abroad, and my most expensive flight was about $200 round trip. So it is really accessible to travel to the rest of Europe as well. So I'm going to unshare my screen now. And if anybody has any questions, or if you'd like me to touch on other things that I didn't talk about, feel free to let me know now.
Hey Matt, can you show them a little bit around on the website? I did send
Sure,
them
absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
the pre-med and nursing, and one student I sent her the physical therapy page, but if you want to just kind of show them around
Sure,
there.
absolutely.
And I do have a follow-up question. So you may know that Michigan Tech uses VIA TRM for our students to apply. I did notice that the summer pre-med program isn't up yet.
Okay.
Would you be able to find out from your team when that will be made available for our students to apply to?
Yeah, I'll actually put a note in my phone right now. It's for Socrati. That would be on him. Yeah, I'll reach out to Socrati right now.
Perfect. Yeah. So Kaylin, I know you were asking about that. So I will let everybody know when you are able to apply to the pre-med program and via TRM. But I did notice the other ones like nursing and physical therapy, those ones are available to apply to. So as Matt is showing around on the website, I'll post a link into the chat so you guys can find out how to apply.
Cool. Right. So two things. So the University of Nicosia has a site just for our US students, which please use because you'll be very confused. We have students that make applications and the full time, like the full degree admissions team reaches out to them and they get very confused. So our US site for our students is just globalsemesters.com. This is where you can find a lot of the information that I went over today. We've recently redid our website. Vienna, I'm sure you noticed how we've changed it up a little bit. So if you're looking at a specific program, say for instance, you're looking for one of the summer programs, you just click on the summer tab here, or the programs tab, and you'll scroll down. Say you're looking into let's see which one we could look into here. Say you're looking into let's find the pre-med program. All right, pre-med program. So you can click on here and you'll find access to a lot of different information. You'll have an overview. You can look through the curriculum here to find the courses. All of the courses are hyperlinked right there. Links to excursions, information about the housing, dates of the program, which I'm not sure. Yep, there we finally updated that. So these are the dates for 21. You could download an itinerary here that kind of outlines when you're going on all the different trips, when you can arrive, when you have to depart from the program, fees pages, the dates page, all that good stuff. Yeah, so and since you're applying through the MTU portal first, you don't have to start an application on our end, so don't worry about the applying stage on our site. And it is, I'm really glad they redid the website because it's a lot more user-friendly. It's pretty self-explanatory. Again, if you're looking for one of the semester programs, one thing I'll note, one thing that I don't really like that they did to the site. So if you don't actually have to choose a specific major for the semester programs, all that you really have to do is click on the custom program. They just wanted to highlight some of the specific courses for each, for specific majors that are pretty popular at the university. But you don't need to do that. You could just click custom. If you want to look at semester courses and curriculum, and then these are courses that are typically offered. These get updated every so often. I believe the last time I checked, they weren't updated though. So let me look. Okay, they did update these. So this is not an extensive link to the courses, but these are courses that have been offered. So that, for instance, these are spring semester courses. These have all been offered for the past 5 spring semesters in a row. So this is, if you find a full semester that, if you find all the courses that you need on this list, there is a very, 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 very high likelihood that they're all going to be offered next spring. And that's because most of these courses are just built into the degree pathways. Let me see if I can move this because it's in my way. Hold on. Okay, good. So you could look there. However, if you would like to look to see kind of a broader idea of the courses that are offered, like I said, over 400 that are offered every semester, I recommend looking at the course schedule here. And here you could search by semester. So for instance, you'll be able to see what was offered last fall, this fall. You'll be able to see what was offered last spring. So say for instance, you wanted to apply for the spring 2021 semester, just for instance, obviously it's not listed yet. Because we list all of our syllabi online, we typically don't update this list until about 2 to 3 months before the semester begins. So I tell students, look at the semester the year before, so spring 2020, to get a better idea of the course that'll be offered. If you find courses on here that aren't on the typically offered list, just shoot us an email, shoot me an email. We'll reach out to the department to confirm whether or not that course is going to be offered. But this is also a really good resource to kind of get an idea of the breadth of courses that are offered. Let me see if share. All right. Was that good, Vienna? Anything else you want me to touch on the site?
I think that was good. Just some things for you guys to know. So if you are really interested in the pre-med program, and maybe Nicole can chime in a little bit, but we have evaluated some of the courses already, and they do transfer as biology credit. They are unassigned credit, varying from the 1,000 to 2,000 level. And the only reason why it's not like an exact match is just because it's a little bit different of a class. So those have been looked at by Travis Wakeham over in biology. But as you know, notice the website is nice and pretty. There's probably some new classes or programs we haven't looked at yet. So please let Nicole and myself know if there's a program that really stands out to you so that we can start getting that looked at for credit for you. Because we want you to know what you're going to receive before you go abroad. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of cruising through their website and you have some programs that are of interest to you. I did throw some things in the chat. I'm sorry if it was a little distracting, but I just want to make sure I get everything out there for you guys. So some things that I mentioned earlier is that you can use your Michigan Tech financial aid and scholarships to pay for your program. There are study abroad scholarships out there in the universe that you can apply to as well. There's a lot out there. So make sure you look at our website for that. And what else? I mentioned via TRM. So again, that's where we have all of our programs listed, including all the University of Nicosia offerings. And that is where the Michigan Tech application is. So you do have to apply with us first before you submit anything to global semesters, just because we have some checkpoints that we want you to go through. But as long as you are a terrific student, there's no reason why you can't be going abroad. The elephant in the virtual room here is COVID. So we aren't sure the likelihood about our spring programs being able to run, just because we just don't know how this COVID thing is going to be in January. But I am encouraging students to look at summer and fall 21 programs. So for a lot of you who are the pre-med students, you'll want to be looking at the summer programs most likely for you, but there are terrific semester programs as well. Anyone have questions for Matt, myself? I have visited this program for myself. I loved it. It's a beautiful country. Any questions for Nicole? You can unmute your audio. You can throw them in the chat. I will say the cadaver lab was pretty cool. Literally, it was cold in there. It was like 110 degrees outside of the building, but inside they did have it like a crisp, I don't know, 60 degrees or less.
It's cool. It's a pretty state-of-the-art cadaver lab because it was just built about 6 years ago. So a fun fact, they clean the air, so all the air is recirculated every 5 minutes, and it's not a small cadaver lab. It's fairly large, so it's pretty state-of-the-art. So you don't get a formaldehyde smell in the lab itself.
Oh, I never smelled that actually.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. For cadaver labs to kind of have an odor. But so just two more things. If anybody has any other questions, or if you have any questions that come up later, I'm going to share a form here. So we'll reach back out to you. If you just you want to give us your email, if you have specific questions, we'll be able to kind of communicate. If you would like the presentation, if you want to take a look at that as well, I could absolutely forward that to you. So yeah, I just put that in the chat function.
So thanks for your presentation. I do have one small question, and I'm Shekhar Joshi, chair of the biology department.
Nice to meet you.
So we are trying to buy anatomage, which is virtual cadaver.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with it? Like
A little, I'm a little familiar.
okay, so
just
we are
because we
trying
do
to
some
get
PR.
that. I was wondering whether Cyprus, I mean, Nicosia has any plan of buying virtual cadaver where students can actually work with and dissect things.
So just virtually, you're saying? I believe we're already working on that already. Because yeah, one of our departments was working on that, and I believe it's actually on our. I think it's on the University of Nicosia's website where you could actually look through that. They're already working on the virtual labs, and that actually was not due to COVID either. They've been working on that for a few years already. They were doing what we were doing was virtual reality, like actual virtual reality. So I think they've already done that, because I know that because one of my friends also, he actually lives in Cyprus, and he was working on the project, and they had mentioned that it was complete. So that's the only reason I know that. But yeah, they're definitely working on that.
Very good. Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Of course.
So Matt, are the medical students off during the summers? Like, is there any interaction between our pre-med students that take the summer program and the current medical students, or any collaboration between the two?
No, so they're off in the summer. So again, it's very Americanized, even the medical school. Actually, the Americans actually constitute a large portion of our medical school. So yeah, the system is, very American. So they're they're off for the summer, and that's actually the reason why why the undergrads actually have the ability to go into the cadaver lab in the medical school, because they get done their testing, just before, or just as the students are arriving. So there really isn't any interaction with them.
Yeah, I was just gonna throw in the chat, but I might as well say it. So we have a Michigan Tech alumni, Samantha Varon. Her mom works at Tech, but Samantha's actually at University of Nicosia right now in the medical school program. She's in her second year. So that's pretty cool. Like, she looked all over for med schools and she landed on Cyprus.
That's awesome.
So.
Any other questions?
I will say that I felt very safe there. So I am a local. I grew up here in the small town of Houghton. And I had been abroad before to some other places, but I was just really pleased with how safe and clean and friendly the area is. We didn't just hang out around the university. So we weren't in that university bubble. We were downtown. I mean, we went on a lot of the excursions that you guys will be going on. And I'm just very impressed with everything. And I kept saying the whole time, I'm coming back. I want to live here someday. And I know it's because I love being by water. So for those of you who maybe chose Michigan Tech because of our nature and the water, that whole outdoor scene, Cyprus really does have that too. Plus the rich Greek culture that's integrated in the community and the university. I mean, you'll see a lot of signs that are in Greek. The food, of course, is very Greek influence. And I don't know if you mentioned this, Matt, but it's really easy, like, to get on a plane on the weekend and go into mainland Europe or go up to Greece.
Yeah.
And it's affordable. It's not expensive, like for us to fly out of Hancock to go to Chicago and then to like Florida. It's expensive, right? Yeah. But in Europe, it's so inexpensive to travel in a short time's notice. So if you are someone who's looking, just to try something new for a short time, so for a summer, and something that's affordable, something that's beautiful, a little bit different, still has like a cultural difference, Cyprus offers all of those things. And like, I don't talk this much about other programs. Like, this program just has a special place in my heart. Like, I fell in love with it, and I really want more students to experience it. So dropping my mic.
Yeah, I will say it's, Cyprus is definitely not the first location when students walk into a study abroad office and say, I want to go to Cyprus. It's not really something American students think about. However, there is a lot to see in the world. And just like Vienna said, Cyprus has a huge part of my heart as well. And it's not just because I work for the university. It's a great experience. And I think, you definitely have the culture differences, right? Obviously, it's still Europe. It's still, a lot of different things going on. However, it is comfortable because the people are just very hospitable. And I think that's just like island atmosphere, just like very laid back, hospitable, but also because they speak English as well, that kind of, cultural difference isn't there because they do, obviously you'll hear Greek every day, but it is nice that it's easy to communicate. It's easy to make friends, which is nice. And again, I think with especially for the semester students, having that access to actually interact and integrate with the local students and the other European students, that was like a huge part of my semester. And I think it's something that could be overlooked, but it definitely made a huge impact on my time abroad.
Yeah, so if anyone has follow-up questions, feel free to let myself, Nicole, or Matt know. Matt, if you want to throw your email in there, you also threw the link to that form, fill that out. Now's the time just to start planning and looking at what you may want to do. Most students plan about a year to a year and a half in advance for their study abroad, but I do get those last minute planners, which is doable, but for your sanity's sake, I want to give you at least a couple semesters worth of planning ahead. And maybe you do this summer program and then maybe you go off to mainland Europe for the semester for that fall. You can definitely do that as long as you plan ahead and figure out your classes. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of browsing around for your options. One thing to note, the earlier thing I threw in the chat, but I'll throw it one more time. It's our 10-step guide to plan your study abroad. This is like a digital handout, so there are links within, but you'll notice that we do have a study abroad 101 session that takes place every Monday at 3 o'clock on Zoom. If that time doesn't work out for you, just let me know by emailing the study abroad email, and I can schedule a one-on-one meeting with you. And then I also threw in my calendar link if you want to just start planning right away and we can get to work. Other comments, questions, thoughts? There's no bugs in Cyprus except for that cockroach that was in the apartment below us, that one rare time, and Matt's I've never seen a cockroach here.
Yeah, I'm not okay with bugs. I wouldn't spend my summers there if that was the case.
Is it really hot in the summer there, or what's the average temperature?
So it definitely differs by the month. So when I first started going back to Cyprus about 5 years ago, I would spend 3 months there. I'd spend all of June, July, and August. June is beautiful. So the reason we run our summer programs for the U.S. students is because June, it's about 95 pretty much all the way throughout June. And it's a dry heat, so it's not overbearing. They have no humidity in the city. The beach towns are cooler with a little bit of humidity. July, so right when the students start to leave, right when Vienna started to arrive, when she came, that's when we hit our heat wave. And you're talking 100 to 110. And then August is about as hot. So Cypriots do not stay in Cyprus in August. They all leave. They go to the beach towns. They go to the Rhodos Mountains. They go to Greece. They do not stay in Cyprus because it gets way too hot. But there is air conditioning. Unlike a lot of continental Europe where they poo-poo air conditioning, there's air conditioning everywhere in Cyprus because you need it.
Yeah, I was never really hot. I mean, when we were outside, we were walking in the evenings when the sun had went down.
Yeah,
so it
it's beautiful because there's two different mountain ranges. You get a nice breeze as soon as the sun goes down from the Rhodos, and then there's another mountain range to the north. And at night, it gets really, really nice out. So a lot of Cypriots stay in during the day in the heat of the summer and then go out at night.
I will also say that things are pretty affordable there. Some things were surprisingly less than I thought they would be. So if you are a little concerned about your personal expenses and your budget, just know that it's pretty similar to what it is here in Houghton. So just keep that in mind too. And the cafeterias, I was raving about the cafeterias in the last session. They had fish, they had pasta, they had mussels. I mean, it's an island, so they're gonna have that, right? But they just had like this gourmet food at the school cafeteria. I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah. It's
this is
actually a chef that's at the that oversees the cafeteria. It's not very American for sure, which is nice.
like
The
you're
food
not
is
gonna have pizza and like
yeah,
soggy fries. Like,
yeah.
oh, that's like not good food.
And
So
if you're missing like the U.S., there's McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. There's all that
Starbucks.
stuff as well. If you know, I get like that sometimes when I'm there for a couple months. I'm like, "Ah, I just need a burger. And like Burger King will deliver. It's like it is nice to have some familiarity, but the food is so good. The Greek inspired food is just so good.
Yeah.
And you may have mentioned this, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but what's the most common way for students to get around for outside of walking
Yeah,
distance?
good question. So there's taxi stands, and there's also a local bus. So during the day, if you want to just go check out, maybe there's something going on downtown and you just want to go see it, absolutely take the bus during the day because it's about 75 cents to use. You can get anywhere through the city, which is a big city, for 75 cents on the bus. The one thing about the bus system is that it typically stops at around 9 or 10. However, there's taxis. There's actually an Uber service. It's not called Uber. They have their own name for it, which a lot of students have apparently started to use when they're in Cyprus. There's taxi stands right outside of all the apartments as well. And to go downtown, Vienna had mentioned that we went downtown a good amount when she was there. From the student residences to what's called downtown, which is like the old city. And by the way, old city I lived in New York for a few years, and it kind of reminds me of like the Soho of Cyprus. It's where all like the fashion designers, the gastro pubs, all the cool like shops like open up downtown. It's about €10, so about $10 to get downtown. So if you're with 2 or 3 other students, it's a couple bucks to get downtown, which is really the furthest that students typically travel, throughout the city. So the bus system, the taxis. If you want to hit up a beach town, I recommend shared taxis. So essentially, they'll pick you up at your apartment, take you literally to whichever spot on a beach you want to go to, and they drop you off, and it's like €8 to €10 to do that. So it's easy to get around, and it's definitely affordable.
And the grocery store is right next to your apartments and campus. It's kind of like a mini mall, actually. Anything else? Your expert is on the call, students. Now's the time.
And like I said, if you do have other questions and you fill out that form, I'll reach back out to you. You'll have my contact info. I listed it right there. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to answer any other questions that might come up.
All right, Matt, I think we can wrap it up. We did record this session, so if anyone wants that recording, just send me an email, but I will be posting it on our website. I want to thank you, Matt, for making the time for us once again. We always enjoy talking with you. And I really hope some students will be coming your way next summer.
Hopefully I see some of you in Cyprus next summer or another semester.
All right.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. Have a good
Thanks
day.
for having me. See you.
Bye.